A prop for each game, NFL Week 17. Thanks anybody for tuning in here on the YouTube channel. We are going to go through every single game on the NFL slate for today, at least most of them, every game on the NFL slate today, so that we could talk every single prop on the board. Starting with this game against the Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Browns. This line's been moving all over the place. Pittsburgh -5.5, moved to 3, and now it's back to 4.5. I'm still going Aaron Rodgers under 183.5 passing yards. He's averaging 178.5 passing yards against teams top 10 against the pass, a spot where Rodgers had 235 passing yards last game. Why in round 2 is this number so low? Cleveland allows the second fewest passing yards per game at just under 186. 60% of quarterbacks went under their passing yard prop against the Browns this year. So I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers to go under 183.5 passing yards. And no, that's not a Ravens bias. It's just what the numbers say. Arizona at Cincinnati, nothing to play for here. A contract incentive to watch. Running back Samaje Perine can earn $100K by hitting 500 rushing yards. He's sitting at 335, meaning he needs 165 in the final 2 games, which is hard to do. This is a good matchup for him, though. Perine, he averages just under 14 rushing yards more at home, over in 2 of the 3 games at home. Cardinals allow the 5th most rushing yards to running backs. Over the last 10 games, 60% of running backs have cashed rushing overs against Arizona. But if you are more confident in RB1, then you could look to Chase Brown over 52.5 rushing yards. He's gone over in 7 of the last 10, over in 4 of the last 5 home games. At home, averaging 65 rushing yards a game versus 49 on the road. Chase Brown's getting this Arizona defense, allowing 113 rushing yards a game to running backs, which is the 5th most in the league. 60% of running backs have gone over their prop over the last 10 games when up against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, over 249.5 passing yards. He's averaging 294 passing yards against bottom 10 pass defenses. Road games, 278 passing yards a game, going over in 4 of his last 5 road games. Since he's allowing 256 passing yards a game, which is 5th most, 80% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing yard prop against Cincinnati this year. I know Brissett's had a down week the last 2 weeks, so it's a pretty decent buy low spot if you want to take an over on his passing yards prop. Michael Carter, over 14.5 receiving yards. He's gone over this in 3 or 4 road games, averaging just under 29 receiving yards. Seahawks game excluded, Michael Carter's averaging just under 32 receiving yards against defenses bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs, since he has allowed the 2nd most receiving yards per game to running backs. As I mentioned on Wager Talk's last call, Trey McBride, Yanni the Greek likes the over receptions with his sharp groups. You could go over receptions, receiving yards. He is averaging 8 receptions and 83 receiving yards when up against teams bottom 10 against tight ends. Since he has allowed the most receiving yards per game to tight ends at just under 91, 63% of tight ends went over their receptions and 58% went over their receiving yards when going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey McBride has had the best season of his career and has been one of the best tight ends all season. So look to Trey McBride props today in the overs. Jags at Indy. Phillip Rivers, you could look to over his pass attempts. So even though Indy's still a 5.5-point dog, the line's been moving in their favor. Despite the Colts being eliminated, despite the Jags needing to win, the Colts have the line moving in their favor. Phillip Rivers is getting this Jacksonville defense that's the best defense this year against running backs, but they struggle more against the pass. The Jags have allowed the most pass attempts per game at 38 pass attempts a game. So if you're going to take Jonathan Taylor out of the game, because I don't mean physically, I mean the Jags defense is good enough to limit Jonathan Taylor potentially, you're going to make old man Phillip Rivers have to throw the football. The attempts should be there, over 32.5 pass attempts for Phillip Rivers. I can't fade Jonathan Taylor at home. If this game was in Jacksonville, I would 100% be fading the Colts running back. He has struggled way more. He's averaging 30 rushing yards a game less on the road this year. With this game in Indy, I can't fade Taylor at home, but I do know that the Jags have the best defense against running backs this year, so be careful of Jonathan Taylor today. Brenton Strange is one of my favorite props of the day. I'm going over 37.5 receiving yards. He has gone over 35, or he's had over 37.5 receiving yards 2 of the 3 road games he's faced a team that's bottom 10 against tight ends. He's gone over in 4 or 5 road games this year. They use him a lot more on the road. Indy allows the 2nd most receiving yards per game to tight ends. 63% of tight ends have gone over their receiving yard prop against the Colts. And you guys know I love to say that if it doesn't hit before, it should hit again. And the first game, this did not hit. And now all of a sudden, we're getting this prop up to 37.5. I absolutely love Brenton Strange today. An incentive, Seattle and Carolina. Rico Dowdle can hit like $1 million if he does end up hitting a certain number of scrimmage yards. I'm not going to bet that high on rushing yards, but I am going to take Rico Dowdle over his receiving yards, 14.5. So he needs 70 scrimmage yards to unlock $1 million, but Seattle allows the 5th most receiving yards to running backs at just over 39. 56% of running backs have gone over their receiving yard prop against the Seattle Seahawks. So I would go to the over on Rico Dowdle receiving yards, even though I don't think on the ground he can get to that point where he's crushing his incentive prop, but I like him in receiving yards. So it's just a unique way. The books know the incentives. It's a unique way to play Rico Dowdle because I'm sure the books aren't thinking as much receiving as they would be rushing yards for him. Tony Pollard has contract incentives. New Orleans is at Tennessee. Pollard needs 151 rushing yards for $250,000. He needs 2 rushing touchdowns for $200K. And the Saints allow the 6th most rushing yards per game to running backs. And I'm just realizing that I had all these graphics. Pittsburgh at Cleveland, Aaron Rodgers under. These are the ones I forgot I made all these graphics and I haven't even been showing them like a dummy. Dummy. Phillip Rivers, Brenton Strange, Rico Dowdle, and here's Tony Pollard contract incentives is the other thing that I was talking about. So you could definitely take a look at the contract incentives there for Tony Pollard. Saints allow the 6th most rushing yards per game to running backs. Tampa Bay at Miami. Kate Otten over 18.5 receiving yards. Otten has gone over in 6 of 8 road games. He's averaging 34 receiving yards per game on the road and 28 at home. Miami allows the 3rd most receiving yards per game to tight ends. 63% of tight ends have gone over their prop against Miami in the last 10 games. And then New England at New York Jets. Stephon Diggs. Graphic. Stephon Diggs needs 4 receptions for $500K. He needs 131 yards for another $500K. Hunter Henry, the tight end, needs 3 receptions for $250K. So those are some contract incentives on the Pats side, even though they do need to win. The Pats need to win this week, and if Buffalo wins this week, then next week is the game that matters. If the Bills lose, then the Patriots, if they win today, will win the division. So something to keep in mind, even though they are a double-digit spread, the Pats. A fade angle in this game, running back Breece Hall under his rushing yards. The Pats allow the 3rd fewest rushing yards per game to running backs. 65% of running backs went under their prop against the Pats this year. And if you're going to get a Jets team that's a double-digit dog in a game that's probably going to end up as a blowout for a Pats team that knows they need to win, then I would be looking at more of a passing game for the Jets than running the football with Breece Hall because they'll need to throw, playing from behind. Oh, another bad New York team. The New York Giants at the Vegas Raiders. Geno Smith over his rushing yards at 6.5. So at home, he's averaging 12 rushing yards a game, but only 4 on the road. He's gone over Geno Smith in 5 of 7 home games. The Giants allow the most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. The most, 25. 61% of quarterbacks have gone over their prop against the Vegas Raiders on the ground this year. Lastly, Bills, Eagles. Josh Allen under 18.5 completions. He's averaging 15.5 against defenses top 10 in completions allowed. Philly allows the 4th fewest completions per game. The only thing I'll caution you about with this prop, most games that Josh Allen played against defenses top 10 in completions allowed were on the road, and Allen does complete more passes at home. So the home road splits is something that concerns me a little bit. Jalen Hurts under his passing yards. This number is really freaking low. Buffalo allows the fewest passing yards per game to quarterbacks. I'm a little nervous about this one because it's 50-50. Hurts has faced 4 top 10 pass Ds on the road and 2 went over, 2 went under. But Jalen Hurts' rushing yards stood out because it's 27.5. Against defenses, bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Hurts is averaging 38 rushing yards a game overall. On the road, averaging 37 rushing yards a game. He's gone over in 5 of his last 6, averaging 30 rushing yards per his last 5 games. Buffalo allows the 3rd most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. The only thing I'll caution you about is 6 of the last 7 quarterbacks to face the Bills did go under their rushing yard prop. Those quarterbacks, though, were Aaron Rodgers, Davis Mills, Tua Tagovailoa, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Dalton, and Michael Penix. So those aren't really the most mobile of quarterbacks, but something to think about when looking at that really crucial game. The Bills need to win in order to still have a shot at the playoff or the division next week. And the Eagles, I mean, what do the Eagles have to play for? They already clinched their division, so I guess it's just really seeding if they want, but going to be tough to even get a 1. Like, I don't even think they can. So I don't know what the Eagles really have to play for. I don't know if it's worth getting hurt, but somebody could definitely let me know if there is something that I'm wrong about there, but I don't foresee them really needing this game. Hey guys, thanks for joining on the YouTube page in the chat. Anytime touchdown, I hate that market, to be honest. I hate anytime touchdown, but I'll tell you next week, we will be betting again, hoping it hits Hollywood Brown to go and score a touchdown for $750K next week. That's his contract incentive. Thanks, guys, for tuning in here on the YouTube. Subscribe, like. Hope that helps. Hope we give you some winners from the long list of props. And if you want these earlier in the day, you could subscribe to the propqueen.com newsletter, which is where I give all those props and they go straight to your inbox, $19.99 a month. But we're also going to be adding, it's not just props. It's helpful tools to help you guys be smarter and better bettors. And we're going to add a lot more of those tools coming up in 2026. Have a very profitable day today. We will see you guys on the Prop Queen Pod tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.